Today's recipe is dalcha, also known as Dal Gosht. For this, first we need is dals. Dals are lentils. We need 3 different types of dals for this. What I've used here is Masoor Dal, Chana Dal and Toor Dal. So what you need to do is you need to soak this dal overnight or for a minimum of 6 hours. We soak this Chana Dal and all the dals together since Chana Dal actually takes a long time to cook. So here I've got 130 grams each of Chana Dal, 130 grams Masoor Dal and 130 grams Toor Dal. Also we need half a tablespoon of turmeric powder, which we will use in the dal. Next we need 800 grams of mutton. Here I've got half bunch of coriander leaves and 6 whole green chilies. What I've done is I have blended it in my blender using 1 1/4 cup of water, and I made a paste of it with water. Then we also need 1 teaspoon of cumin powder. We need 1 teaspoon of coriander powder, 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1 teaspoon of pepper powder, 2 teaspoons of cumin seeds. Here I've got 1 cinnamon stick, this is 6-inch. We need 10 whole cloves. We need 4 green cardamoms, 2 tablespoons of Kasuri Methi. We also need 3 bay leaves. We need 2 1/2 tablespoons of garlic paste, a 1 1/2 tablespoon of ginger paste, salt as per taste. We also need some imli, also known as tamarind. So I've washed this imli and I've soaked it in half cup of water. For this recipe we also need 400 grams of chopped tomatoes. We need 500 grams of chopped or sliced onions. Now I've used 2 large onions and 2 large tomatoes for this recipe. We also need ghee or oil, approximately a cup. For dalcha we always use a vegetable. You can use lauki, dudi, or it's known as long squash, but here I will be using drumsticks for this recipe. I've got frozen drumsticks. If you have fresh drumsticks it would be fantastic. Plus we also need other ingredients for tempering this whole dish. Now the first thing we need to do is boil the dal separately and then cook the meat gravy separately, plus cook these drumsticks separately, and then we will add all together and make it dalcha dal gosht. Now for this recipe I will be using the pressure cooker to cook because it takes a while to make this dish. So let's start cooking. I'll start making this dalcha recipe by first boiling the lentils, the dal. So I've placed all my dals in this pressure cooker and I've added 3 cups of water, and I'll be adding my turmeric powder as well. Give it a quick stir. Please do not add any salt at this point, because when you add salt right now to the lentils, then the lentils will not cook quick and it will take a longer time to cook it. So I will add salt later on in my recipe. After adding the turmeric, now I will place the lid and I will wait for this to cook. I'll turn the stove off because the dal is already cooked. I'll open it and then check it whether it's properly done. When using a pressure cooker you need to be extremely careful because of the steam. So with very light hands I will lift this whistle up with very light hands and release the steam from this pressure cooker. And I will not remove the whistle, I'll just lift it till the steam stops coming. Always keep light hands, never do Never put pressure on the whistle, just with very light hands lift it and continue releasing the steam from the pressure cooker. Now you can see the steam has escaped from the pressure cooker by lifting the whistle up. Now I will very carefully remove this whistle from the pressure cooker, and while opening the lid of the pressure cooker I'll still be careful because there is steam still inside the pressure cooker. So let's go ahead and remove the whistle. After removing the whistle, I'll open the lid of the pressure cooker. And you can see there's still steam in the pressure cooker. So now I will show you how this dal is cooked so well with 3 cups of water. What I'll do is I'll blend it. Once it cools down a bit, I'll blend it and then I'll add extra water to this to make it a little more liquidy. So right now my dal is perfectly cooked. Everything is cooked well. To cook this dal in this pressure cooker, I waited till 3 whistles went off, and once the 3 whistles went off, then I turned the stove off, and that's the time when I lifted the whistle to release the remaining steam from this pressure cooker. Now every pressure cooker is different. I used a small pressure cooker, that's why it took me 3 whistles, but if you're using a different type of pressure cooker, then it depends on how quick it cooks, depending on what size of pressure cooker you use. If you're not using a pressure cooker, this dal would definitely take a longer time to cook. Because I used a pressure cooker, this dal took me literally 15 minutes to cook. I will be adding hot water to this dal before adding it to my meat gravy. The lentils I'm adding in hot water, and I'll give it a quick stir. And this I'll add to my meat. I've just turned my stove on medium flame. I'll add the oil. And now my first step is I will be adding my bay leaf, cinnamon stick, all my cumin seeds, and cardamom plus whole cloves. Saute this for less than 30 seconds. And now I'll add in my washed meat. So what I've done is I've washed this meat and applied a lot of turmeric powder to it, and then I washed it again. I washed off the turmeric powder. That's why you see this meat a bit yellow. It's because of the turmeric powder that I used while I was washing this meat. So my aim here is to cook this meat till its original water dries out. Once that is done, then I'll remove this meat from the pressure cooker and fry my onions and tomatoes, and then I'll add this meat back. So first I want to dry this meat water out. While waiting for the original water from the meat to dry out, we need to stir occasionally so that nothing sticks to the bottom of the pressure cooker. And you can see it's almost dried out, the water, and you can see the oil floating on top. I'll let it cook for another 2 minutes and then I will remove it. The water in this meat has dried out. So at this point of time, I will remove this meat from the pressure cooker and then I'll add my onions followed by the tomatoes. After that, I will add the meat back to cook it. I've removed the meat from the pressure cooker and kept it aside. I've let the bay leaf and the cinnamon stick and whatever whole spices I had remain in my pressure cooker. If it comes out while removing the meat, that's fine. Now I'll add my sliced onions to the pressure cooker and I will cook them till they turn translucent or transparent. At this point of time, you can add a bit of salt to fasten the process of cooking these onions, because salt helps the onions to release moisture while it's cooking. Now if at this point of time you feel the oil is not enough in the dish, you can most certainly add. I added at least a cup of oil and I'm not adding any additional oil to this meat dish right now. So I'm sauteing these onions and I will let it cook till it turns a little transparent. Stir occasionally while waiting for these onions to turn transparent or translucent. Onions look done. It's transparent and nicely fried. At this point of time, I'll add in my garlic paste and my ginger paste as well and give it a quick stir. And let this cook for at least 30 seconds. And now I'll add in my chopped tomatoes and I'll cook these tomatoes till it turns a little pulpy or till I see a little oil floating around the tomatoes. After that, I'll add my remaining spices along with the meat. So I'll let this cook. My flame is currently on medium. And while waiting for it to turn a bit soft, the tomatoes, always occasionally stir your dish while it's cooking to avoid it from sticking to the bottom of the pan. You can see the oil around the tomatoes. At this point of time, I'll add in my cumin powder, coriander powder, Kasuri Methi, pepper powder and the turmeric powder. I'll let this saute for 30 seconds or less than 30 seconds. Give it a good stir. Now I'll add the meat back to the pressure cooker. This is the meat that we sauteed earlier. Give this also a good stir. I'll add in my prepared green masala, which is a blend of green chilies and cilantro leaves. I used 5 green chilies and half a bunch of cilantro leaves with 1 1/4 cup of room temperature water. I blended it well together. Now I'll give this a nice stir, and what I'll do is at this point of time I will cover this pressure cooker with a lid and I'll let it cook till my meat is tender. So now I'll cover this pressure cooker with a lid. Place the lid over the pressure cooker with the whistle on and I'll let this cook till my meat is tender. And always check in between after every 2 whistles how the meat is, because you don't want to overcook this meat and it will become mashed in your dal gosht. So always after every 2 whistles come back and check your pressure cooker. I have turned the stove off because my mutton is cooked. I removed the lid of my pressure cooker and I'll show you how well this mutton is actually cooked. So if I just put a knife through, you can see it's going through so easily. This is perfect. So I have soaked this tamarind in water. I'll just strain the water out from this and pour it in the meat curry. I will just strain the tamarind through this tea strainer. Actually, it's too big for a tea strainer, but through a strainer. And I'll just add the tamarind water. I do not like to add this pulp to my curry. I'll give this a good stir to mix everything well. I will not be adding my drumstick at this point of time. I'll add in the blended lentils. Added in an additional cup of water to my lentils after I added the first cup. Now I'm adding this to my meat curry. At this point of time, I'll also add in my salt, and I'll taste for the salt in this recipe, and then we'll move on to the next step. I have placed the drumsticks in water. This is room temperature water. I've turned the stove on and I'll let this cook till the drumsticks are done. I'll also add in 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder. We don't add in anything else, just turmeric powder. We'll let this cook till it's done, and you need to keep an eye on the drumsticks because you don't want to overcook them and they become a little mashy if it's overcooked. Cover and cook. Let's check if the drumsticks are done. I'll just take a few of them. You can see it's done because this is already opened, and if I just put the knife through, it's soft and perfect. At this point of time, I'll separate the drumstick from its water and keep it aside. Now at this point, I'll add in my drumsticks. I'm not using the water from the drumsticks. I will prepare the tempering for this dish, also known as the tadka or the bhagar, and then I will temper this with that. To a warm frying pan, I'll add in 1/4 cup of oil for the tempering. I'll let this oil become hot, and then I'll add the curry leaves, 15 curry leaves for this recipe, plus 5 whole red chilies, a tablespoon of Kashmiri mirch, plus 3 cloves of garlic chopped finely. The oil is warm enough. Now I'll add in the curry leaves plus my chopped garlic. This is 3 cloves of garlic chopped finely. I've got around 15 curry leaves in the pan right now, and 5 whole Kashmiri red chilies. Now let this cook till this garlic turns a bit brown. Once the garlic turns brown, I'll turn the stove off, which I'm doing right now, and I'll add in the Kashmiri red chili powder. Give it a quick stir, and I'll pour this over my Dal Gosht. Now I'll add this tempering to my Dal Gosht and immediately cover the pot with a lid so that the aromatic flavors from the tempering is preserved in the Dalcha Dal Gosht. Now you can hear the sizzling sound end. I'll just remove the lid and give it a quick stir. And this you can serve hot with rice or naans. This Dal Gosht or Dalcha is ready to serve. Now if you want your dal to be yellow and in this whole dish, then you don't need to add the coriander and the green chili chutney, which I added while making the meat. Garnish with cilantro leaves or coriander leaves, whatever you have, before you serve it. Dalcha or Dal Gosht is ready to serve. You can serve this Dalcha or Dal Gosht with Zira rice or even naans. Enjoy this recipe. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Please click on the bell icon for notification for my latest videos. And thank you for watching.